So let me introduce myself again. I hope that Gabor mentioned my name. I'm Petr. I'm based in Prague. I work as a pre-sales engineer for Thales for the division, data security division. And let's say among my responsibility belongs a lot of countries. One of the countries is Hungary. I wanted to start with the previous slide that was there with a question. So no, it's a joke. What I have prepared for you is the presentation. Why do we care about the data protection? So there are two major, let's say, motivations. First of all, you do not want to be breached, so that somebody else will get into your IT infrastructure and will be able to read the content of the data that you process or you have. It is, let's say, the best motivation ever, I think, when you, let's say, listen your the heart that, okay, if I am processing some data in the company, it's good to have the data under control and nobody else will be able to get into these data. The second motivation can be, and Gabor, let's say, uses a few slides about that, can be regulation. So that you are working for the company that is under some regulation, like, I don't know, national cybersecurity law in Hungary. There has to be some specification, like you have to protect your data against the data breach or against to be leaked. So yeah, that's the reason why I chose this title, Protect Your Company, Your Data in the Jungle. Why in the jungle? Because, let's say, of my experience, I know that it is not easy to say where the data exists. So we know that we have, everybody of you is working for the company, where is the system that can be called like a CRM, Customer Relationship Management. So if any customer will come to your office, you will ask him, hey, give me your ID, and within the ID you will write down name, surname, I don't know, street address, whatever. So it is just one of the system. But most of you is having in the company hundreds of different applications, and nobody exactly knows, or I mean that there is no single person that knows where exactly are stored the sensitive data that you should protect. Because of the, let's say, as I said, motivation. I wouldn't let the other people to look at this data, and other motivation can be some regulation. So let's have a look, let's say, what we want to, let's say, eliminate, and it is data breach or data leak. Yeah, so it doesn't care whether it is an active attack that goes into your company or whether it is just a mistake. So maybe a question, what's the difference between the data breach and data leak? Do we have any presents for the questions and good answers? I will give you something from my pocket. So, who will try to answer the question? What's the difference between data breach and data leak? And a lot of articles is about that on the internet, so just guess. There will be no punishment if you say something wrong.
I think a leak is when it gets public.
Okay, the leak means that you, let's say, do something, let's say, wrong as a company. For example, one of the data leak happens when you, for example, put into the public, for example, on the internet, your username and your password, and it was just unintentionally that you didn't realize that, hey, come on, or if anybody of you is using GitHub or GitLab or anything like that, the sharing of your the application development, most of the data leak was happening because the developers let inside of the code some of, I don't know, credentials or some of the keys. For example, a really famous case was Uber, that placed into the GitHub their source code, and inside of the source code was the encryption key that protects all the let's say, data material. And data breach, it means that it's someone actively is trying to get into your data. For example, into the cloud, into your office, by, I don't know, some ransomware or some let's say, other techniques. And it is really small here, but I just pick up the best, let's say, data breaches from United States. It's, let's say, fancy because you see Microsoft, Facebook, LinkedIn, those giants, technology giants, they invest, let's say, millions of euro or dollars into the protection, and even to those companies happens these, let's say, unwanted the situations. If we have a look on, let's say, whether you work for the finance or healthcare or retail, you can see how much you are in the focus of those attackers or hackers. I think that the finance is, let's say, on the top. Everybody wants to get the data about your customers, about your, let's say, profit, but all other customers are there as well. Why I pick up the last sentence there, Hungarian national authority power to investigate. Yes, so it means that, okay, it is back to the motivation. If you don't care about your data, at least you see your national authority has the privilege to ask you how to prevent against those the attacks. Where the data exists. I believe that, okay, when I visited, let's say, Hungary maybe 5-10 years ago, I remember that most of, and it was the same like in the Czech Republic and in other, let's call it Central Eastern countries, the most of the customers says, no, we don't use cloud and we do not trust to the cloud providers. We have everything on premise. But the days, let's say, are gone. So I believe that who of you don't use or doesn't use cloud for any of solution? I don't know, Office 365 or some development tools in the cloud. Is there anybody who doesn't use cloud? Just raise your hands. Okay, I guess that we live in a hybrid environment. So most of my customers, if I ask where they have a sensitive data, they answer, our most important information are still on premise. But we use time to time for example, analytics, analysis for, I don't know, data warehouse or for backup, we use or utilize cloud. Also, cloud is really effectively used for the software development. You can imagine if you have a new projects and the project manager comes with the requirements. We have these requirements. We need 5 Windows servers, 2 application servers. We need this and that. So you are not able to, to buy it from the market immediately, but you are able to ask any cloud provider to provide you those services just for the development. And after, for example, 4 months of the development, you can deprovision all of those resources, and the cost for those servers and these machines are really, really low. So it's really effective, let's say, to utilize cloud resources for software development. But still, why I put this slide at the beginning is that even when we do and try to protect as much as possible our resources, data, our systems, the most important, let's say, the persona in this process is human. We are doing a lot of human errors. For example, by mistake, if I'm administrator and I have to distinguish between, for example, this part of the room and this part of the room. So this guys will have privilege to, for example, to get and work with some data, let's say human resource data, like with the salary. So you are working for human resources and you are working for IT. So I should prevent that those guys will not see each other the salary. But it can happen that by mistake I do some, let's say, wrong configuration, and those guys will have access to it. So it is just one of the examples that typically happens because of the human. So we have to be thinking about how to utilize the technology, for example, Thales technology, that even when there is a human error, it will be still, let's say, protected data or some systems. I maybe skip this slide. I wanted just to say that, and I believe that Gabor mentioned it, that we made some, let's say, effort, that we read these regulations like for the bank, for the NIS, for GDPR, PCI DSS for the banks, and we found, let's say, how we can help you. It's absolutely clear that no vendor on the market is able to, to help you with all of the articles, but we are focused on the data protection. So we are able to help you with the encryption, and also there is another, let's say, part of our colleagues that are responsible for identity and access management and control. So it is the most, I think, easiest way how you can prevent that your data will be breached or leaked. Let me just share with you, I share it all the time and always when I talk to customers, that it was nice it was good opportunity for me to be in, let's say, one of the biggest hackathon. It means it is a, let's say, conference to which are sent the best hackers, ethical hackers, and they've got a task to breach into some IT system. So it looks like this. So there will be a task. Hey, there is an IP address on which is some server, let's say Linux server, and we will, you have, let's say, a time like 1, 2, 3 hours to get into the system and breach some data. And after, let's say, it was young people like 16, 18 years old, and all of those started not with the programming something on the console. Most of those, when I was, let's say, walking around, I was surprised that they look at Facebook and those, let's say, social media. And at the end, the conferencier was asking them, hey, what is the most difficult for you to get into the system? And they told, most of those, they told there are two, let's say, approaches. The first one is the multi-factor authentication. If we found that we can get the access to the system or application, and we will, through the application, get into the system, but there is multi-factor authentication, like on a mobile or some, I don't know, fingerprint or certificate on smart card, we are trying to go other way around. And the second is when we found that the data exists in the server, but the data exists in the encrypted form. It is really hard for us because we try to find something else. And it reminds me the same discussion you have with your friends in the pub, in a restaurant. That if I'm an attacker and I will find, for example, like you, 10 people in the room, and 9 of you will have the data protected by multi-factor and by encryption, and 1 of you will keep it in the clear form without any protection. Just guess to which which direction I will focus. That's, let's say, just recommendation, yeah, to think about that. Okay, so how we can help you as a Thales data security and data protection vendor? I try to use this. Let's see a busy slide because it's a lot of words here, but I will try to help you to understand what this slide is about. So where the data has to be stored. Typically when we talk about the data at rest, that it is my name and surname and I click somewhere and it's stored somewhere. Let's say at the bottom of all our technology, it is storage. Above the storage, it's a, let's say, operational system like Windows, Linux. Above it is a database that typically stores the significant volume of the data. And into the database, we do not write directly into the table of the database. We use the application. And application in nowadays is working in the containers. And above of it, we can execute or have those, let's say, technologies inside, like on-premise, or it can be in cloud. So in the middle, you can see, I call it threats or maybe risks. So what risk we want to mitigate? So in the storage, so what's the risk? I am, let's say, the owner of the company, and we have the storage room somewhere in the underground, and I have the only one who has the key into the room. So, okay, risk exists that someone will pick up my key and will, let's say, physically unplug the whole storage and will get a clear form of the data. How we can prevent this, let's say, I would say that it is less a possible scenario that someone will take my key and unplug the storage. But how we can prevent, we call it, let's say, basic encryption at rest. The most of the technology that you use for the storage, like from Dell, from, I don't know, NetApp or other big vendors, has the capability to be encrypted. So you just switch on the encryption and that's it. Our approach is, let's say, following the best practice. And the best practice says, don't store the data together with the encryption key on the one platform. Just try to do it different way. So we are able as a Thales to help you to generate the key inside of something what we call key management solution. And we provide the key inside of the storage. So if anybody will get the physical access to the storage and will pick up it into the car, and at home he will, let's say, turn it on, the data will be encrypted and the key stays in your company. So scenario and mitigation number one. In the file level, what can happen? The scenario that I already mentioned, that here is, let's say, HR division and here is IT division. So what we want to prevent, that into the salary will have the access only the guys from the HR. If anything, let's say, will happen wrong, how we can prevent this situation? We can even operational system to encrypt. And if anybody will get in, for example, from IT into the salary report, it will be encrypted. So the guy will not get the access to the clear form of the file that represents, for example, salary report. The same for the database. As I said, it is, let's say, most traditional way how we protect the data by encryption. It is on the database level. What we want to achieve, we have administrators or administrators or DB admin or server admins, and it is the same question like IT and HR. So is it really necessary that DB admin has all privileges to read, for example, select stars and have the access to all your information? I guess no. So you want to eliminate, if we look into the NIS2, if we look into the DORA and those regulations, there is always repetition with some guidance, like try to avoid the situation that the people that shouldn't have access to sensitive data would have, let's say, the access to it. So you should eliminate as much as possible that the people from the company will have a clear or full access to the sensitive data. So the elimination can be, let's say, done by encryption and access management. That's our, let's say, approach. So the database administrator will be able to manage the database, will be able to control, I don't know, the space on the server. He will be able to have a look into the logs, but if he search into the data, he will see encrypted values. So that this is, let's say, the risk that exists, and you have to typically eliminate this. The best way how we can, let's say, eliminate the data breach or data leak is through the application layer. Why? Because if you think about your IT infrastructure, so when the data starts to be existing in your systems. So typically you have most of the applications right now are web-based applications. So if I am a person and go to the bank or go to any service organization, they will ask me for my personal identity, name, surname, Once you, let's say, put it somewhere, it is typically an application. So I put my clear information, sensitive information into the application layer, and it goes down into the database, into the file, into the storage. So if I encrypt the data at the beginning, it's protected on this layer, on this layer, on this layer, and even in the network. But we discussed it many times with Gabor and our customers. It is the most, let's say, labor-intensive, or it needs to be involved the R&D or development organization, because you have to somehow tell to application system that before you commit the data into the database, it must be encrypted. How do we, let's say, achieve it? typically the best or easiest way is that we have a system that has encryption REST API. So you just send all this information, like my name is Petr, so Petr will be sent to key management system. Key management system will encrypt these PETR for letters, and it will come back in encrypted form, and into database it will be encrypted. That's clear. So, and what I can eliminate, the data leakage, session hijacking, and all these things. The same what we apply for the application, we can apply for the container. So it's just about the technology that we have, the engine that is capable to mitigate the situation in the containers. I will talk about the cloud maybe in a couple of slides. So, any questions? Is it so basic? Should I go into much technical level, or is it clear? Questions? No? Okay. So, few nice marketing slides, but it definitely helps me to deliver you the message what the technology that I will be demonstrating is about. So first of all, you have plenty of applications, plenty of databases, plenty of systems, storages, and the questions from internal auditor will be the first. The first question is where we have sensitive data, and it can be a question for IT director. Hey, tell me where is our sensitive data, and then I will put an order. Everything must be encrypted. And it is really hard question, yeah? So nobody knows. From CRM, the data goes in some analytics tools that there is some, you know what, the selection of the data that are using for the financial analytics report, for some, how is it called, like a threat detection, whether anything, let's say, is happening wrong in the company. So first of all, what our tool is doing, helping the customer to discover where sensitive data exists. So we call it data discovery and classification. So first of all, you say, okay, we have thousands of our systems. Let's connect to those systems and let's engine to tell me where the sensitive data exists. It is, let's say, a really easy or simple task, but really effective, because it gives you the information where you should focus on your control of the encryption. Once we know where exists the sensitive data, we can protect the sensitive data. By encryption, it is one of the most traditional way how we protect the data. And the question for the audience, what's the second option if we don't involve encryption and we want to eliminate that the data will stay in the clear form? The one, let's say, option is an encryption, and the second one is what? It's really effective, let's say, way how we can protect the data. I can help you with that the data will stay in the same format. So it will stay, for example, PETR will be XYZA. So how is it called? Gabor knows.
Anonymization.
It is anonymization by what, let's say, the technology. We call it, anyone wants to help? It's called tokenization. So first of all, the encryption is a really effective way that you have one key, and it typically uses, let's say, block cipher. So if you have, I don't know, 1 terabyte of the data, it goes block by block, and it encrypts the clear form with some randomized values that is generated by the key. And if we want to have the option that my name, Petr, has 4 digits, and is anybody of you responsible for the database? Okay, so would you be happy if I, instead of 4 digits, like PETR, will send you this, let's say, 16 digits hexadecimal value, or maybe 200 long the value? The database itself will start to complain, like, there is some problem, yeah? So I do not want to change the database structure, database tables, So other approach is called tokenization. This is also something within our portfolio. What it does, we have original value, name Petr, and there is a randomized token. So instead of Petr, it will be like X, Y, A, B. So, and the application itself will then recognize, okay, I am a person sitting, for example, in front office, and I would like to search whether in our system is the people or guy that is named Petr. So he just type Petr. It goes into the, we call it tokenization server. Tokenization server will look at the database with the original value and this tokenized value, and will search, okay, this name exists, but in the database itself, is the name Petr already tokenized. So there is no value in the clear form. There is always tokenized value. But let's say the positive things on it is that you have the same format of the values. The negative is that you have to take care of the database of original value and tokenized value. And we have, let's say, some solution for it that eliminates the pain. Okay, so we have a, let's say, option how we can protect encryption or tokenization. And then the best, let's say, the way what you can get from it, from the system, is that you have a full control who is getting access to the protected data. So if we have encrypted, let's say, data in, I don't know, file system, if we have files encrypted, if we have application encrypted, I would be so happy to get a report who is getting the access to those files, to those databases. So all actions that involves encryption and decryption operation is reported into the system. So all operations are logged into the system, and it can be sent to CM, log manager, or any of operational systems. So we have full control and visibility what really happens there. Okay, so it is, let's say, just a summary of the solution that I mentioned that is called key management solution. Why it is called key management solution? Because one of the major the operations that you do with key management is creation of the key and management the life cycle of the key. And the key, I mean the encryption key. And it does also the policy management. The policy management means who of you will be able to do encryption, decryption, signing, verifying, creation of the hash, blah, blah, blah. So all of these things are managed directly into inside of this system. And then what it provides? It provides some, let's say, the capability or functionality. First of all, there is a tool for the data discovery and classification. Then we have a tool for file level encryption, database encryption, application encryption, tokenization, and also we are capable to help you with the key management of the cloud. So let me maybe to focus on some showcase. So this is, let's call it, architecture of this solution. So let's say the main technology inside is CipherTrust Manager. It is, let's say, our brand of the key management. As I mentioned, the key management and, let's say, all these, let's say, life cycle of the key is a major functionality. The second one is the control of who is able to do an encryption, decryption, so access management, access control, and also it provides a lot of reports. So that's let's say the main important the feature of it. And then you have to decide to which part of your infrastructure you want to enable the encryption. It can be on the application level. As I started with, the most easiest way is to utilize REST API. So if you have any application, you can just send to the from and to application the responses from key management solution. So you will send there, for example, name Petr, and it will encrypt the name Petr, and it gives you back a response in encrypted form. So your application will be automatically able to work with encryption and decryption through REST API. But we have plugins for most of the programming languages, like for Java, C#, what else? .NET, all of these, let's say, the major technologies. The database protection, what options do we have? So what databases do you use in your companies? Is it Microsoft, Oracle, what else? Postgres. Okay, so most of those database vendors are familiar with this, let's say, best approach that you should keep the data in the database and the key that protects the data in the database separated. So they open something what we can call, let's say, API or some integration that is standardized. For example, Microsoft and Oracle have its own solution that is called transparent database encryption. And what it brings the only single, let's say, the value that you will keep the data in the database protected, and you will control the key inside of the key management. So if anybody will get the access to the database, he will not have access to the key inside of the key management, the data will be encrypted and it will not be able to be breached or stolen. It is, let's say, one of the options. Few of the, let's say, vendors of the databases are integrated with key management solution through KMIP, Key Management Interoperability Protocol. And it is also something what you can imagine like an API. So they allow you to integrate your database with the key management just with some, I don't know, graphical user interface or programmably through some command line. And you achieve the goal that the database and the key will be separated. Some of the databases are not standardized that way, like there is no KMIP, no transparent database encryption. So you are getting cold, yes?
Yeah, right now. My brain frozen. So.
Oh, yeah, okay. So what we can do, as I mentioned, we have something what is called file level encryption, and this is what I would like to maybe focus right now. What's the benefit of this approach? So let me summarize it again. If we encrypt data on application level, it is the best way how we can encrypt the data, because from the application it goes to the database, that's clear. So it will be on the top-down level, it will be still protected. If we encrypt the data on the storage, it is the same like if I have BitLocker on laptop, okay, it will be protected if I, for example, lose the laptop in tram. Somebody will open it and it will, let's say, ask him for the password. But right now, if I go away, you will be freely available for getting my data because it's boot up, everything is, let's say, unprotected. My recommendation, and also it is, I call it like a bestseller of Thales solution, is choose operational system or file level transparent encryption. And let me introduce this solution in the detail. So we have CipherTrust Manager. It's let's say it can be like a virtual appliance or it can be hardware appliance. It's up to you what let's say version you would like to have. And inside of the CipherTrust Manager, you can manage keys, policies, and you will get a logs. So who is running some operations with CipherTrust Manager? And our goal is like this. So we have file server in which is folder that I want to protect. So first step will be deployment of, let's call it agent or some, let's say, utility on the server itself. The server can be Linux, Windows, AIX, any kind of, let's say, operational system. And this let's say, deployment of the agent will allow us to send into the server some let's say, of those things, like keys, policies, and get logs from this agent. And our goal is to protect some data. Let's imagine it will be the salary report inside of this server. And I would like to let only approved user to be able to read transparently this, let's say, secret, or I don't know, it can be the salary. So this user, this is why it's called transparent. This user will really did not realize that the data itself or the file itself is encrypted. So once he click on Word document, it will automatically pop up like it is not encrypted, because the agent that is sitting on the server is looking at the policies, and inside of the policy is mentioned this user, approved user, have an access to the key. So if he click on the file, it pop-ups automatically and opens the document, because at the bottom is running decryption operation, encryption, decryption operation. End of the story. In the policy will be said also that the user without permission will be protected to open the file. So it is like an access management control. And the third role in this demo is a root admin, or let's say someone with high privileges. And I would like to, eliminate this user will be able to read data, secret text in the clear form, but he will be able to read, for example, the attributes of the file. How big is the file? When the file was lastly changed? So he will not be eliminated to log in into the server, look at around, but he will not be able to steal or to get the clear form of the data. So let me show you a short demo how it looks. So I name it, let's say, user-based file level transparent encryption. It is the same slide. So we are in the system that is called CipherTrust Manager. I don't know whether it is visible or not. Okay, so just imagine I will try to explain what is inside. So there is line by line, it is the policy. I installed the agent into the Windows server, and within the policy, I said, okay, there is mentioned user set, and there is mentioned process set. So it means that there is some specific user from the group approved users. In my case, it's called StaDemo, and this user has all capabilities like write, change, read, with also permissions to operate the encryption and decryption operation. Second user in the second line, let's say, is about the permission to work with the data, like administrator or root user, but there is missing the permission to run decryption and encryption operations. So this user will be able to open the file, but will not be able to see the data in the clear form. And the rest, or the last one, the user will get, let's say, zero permission. So there is mentioned deny. So if I connect to the server to which I deploy the agent with this policy, how it works. So it is Windows Server to which I deploy the agent and the connection to key management solution. Just for demo purposes, I am from old school. I am using Total Commander that can distinguish between user 1, user 2. So right now I am connected as a user that in the policy has a transparent visibility into the key. So I can have a look through the agent which folder is encrypted by which policy. So there is just the title of the policy. So I know that this folder under the C drive is, let's say, simple text, and I can demonstrate that this user just click on the file and can read, write, change the file. The same for the text. So for this user, let's say, crucial information or really important information. If you implement this solution in your company, first of all, you will think about, okay, we have dozens of applications that are connected to this server because there is, for example, database server or file server or whatever. So if I implement encryption, it will be dangerous for your business that it has to be stopped, for example, for day, 2, maybe week. It is really, let's say, important information. But this solution will allow you to implement the encryption during the still running the business. So it means that all applications can be connected to those encrypted files or database, and you will not need to stop your business because we call it live data transformation. It is the policy that allows you on the fly to encrypt block by block, for example, terabytes of the data, and in the same time it can be consumed by the applications. So it is somehow, let's say, the mystery. If anybody will, let's say, ask me for the detail, it works that way that all files get, let's call it like a new header information about the status of the process of the encryption. So at every single moment, the file itself has information how far we are with the encryption. In this stupid, let's say, file where I draw the picture and write just few sentences, the encryption and decryption is done like in a second. But if we are talking about the, for example, Word document that will be, I don't know, terabytes in terms of the size, you will see it by your eyes that it goes block by block the encryption. So after, for example, 1 minute, it will be in just I don't know, in 10% of the encryption of the file. And in the header of the file or in attribute of the file, we put as a, let's say, some additional information through the agent how far you are with the encryption. So even if your application is connected to the file, the engine will help to understand which part of the file shall be decrypted and which part is still, let's say, in the clear form. Once encryption is done, the full document is encrypted and you have to, let's say, encrypt and decrypt all the content of the file. So right now I will run the same execution or same demo with a different user. If you remember, in the policy we said one user will have a clear, transparent visibility into the file. The second user will see the data. The third one will see the data in encrypted form. So right now I'm connected as a user that inside of the policy I said that this user will not be allowed to do anything with the file. So it is prevented by access management and access control. So let me move forward. So right now I'm just looking at the log file. So some user, if you remember, I tried to be specified. Like we have a HR team and we have IT team, and this user has no privilege to work with the HR data, like a salary. But me, as a security administrator, I would be really curious who was trying to get into this server. So, and this is what we get. So we get information that through the process, I don't know, notepad.exe, someone with these, let's say, the credentials, in my case it was a demo user, was trying to get into this file. So it can be used anyhow, yeah, by the questioning, hey, come on, what are you doing with this file? So why did you try to get into? Or you can just maybe eliminate something else. So, and you can see if I am connected as an administrator, like a root user, I will get access to file, but only in encrypted form. So I will see all these, let's say, the values like how big is the file and I don't know, some attributes of the security. So is everything clear? Okay. So what else? I have, let's say, plenty of other scenarios with the same engine. I will not run off all of those scenarios, but we've got, let's say, a few years ago, we've got the question or request from the customer. Everything looks fine, but I would rather see it in more reliable way how we run the policy in terms of the access control, access management. So we introduce another step. So before we see the same demo, like that one user will see it transparently, second one will not be able to open the file, and third one will see it in encrypted form, we have to do step number one, and it is multi-factor authentication. So if I skip this multi-factor authentication, none of those users will be able to work with the data. If I am, let's say, proceeding through the multi-factor authentication, it works absolutely the same like before. Okay. The third scenario, what I really love, is that it can differ the behavior of the agent not only based on which user is connected to the file, but also based on the application or process. In this demo, it is quite stupid that we have secret text that I'm trying to open by WordPad. So WordPad.exe will be able to transparently encrypt and decrypt the text. If I open the same file by process or application Notepad, it will, let's say, disallow me to operate. And if I open it with Notepad++, it will allows me to operate or open the file, but it will be without the access to the key, so it will be encrypted. So it's, I think, pretty clear what will, let's say, happen. Just let me show you something I think really interesting, that all processes can be signed. So it means that I would like to eliminate that none of other processes in the company will be able to read and write data. Only selected process, like in my case, it's so small, but you can see here C drive, program files, blah blah blah, something, and there is Notepad. I will just search for the execution file, like notepad.exe, and much more, I can do a signature of this execution file. So what it brings, that if anybody of you will download some other process from the network, from the internet, and it will be like, I don't know, some malware in it, it will be recognized because the signature of this exe file will be different, and it will disallow to use this program or this utility for opening the file. So how the policy looks like, it is pretty the same. If you remember, there were a user set, and I use demo user, administrator, and in this case, in this demo, I just use me instead of a user set. In the policy, there is application 1, application 2, and that's it. It's pretty simple. What's nice on this policy is that I can combine. So you can imagine that there will be user A, and there will be process, there will be user B, and different process. I can do a combination based on your, let's say, goal, what you want to achieve by this access management and data protection. So I will not run this demo, but I will show you something more fancy. So if we have a capability to distinguish between the different processes, and based on that, we can allow or disallow to decrypt and encrypt transparently the data. CipherTrust Transparent Encryption is the name. Our developers decided to introduce something else, or additional feature. So it is deployed on the kernel level. So it means it is one of the, let's say, first process or processes that starts to read and control what is happening with our files. So we can imagine we have a file server, and once it boots up, for example, in my case it was Windows Server, there are a lot of processes that starts at the bottom before you get a login screen. And one of these, let's say, processes is our CipherTrust transparent encryption. So this process is there on the kernel level, and it reads all input and output operation with the files inside of the server. So we introduce something more that, let's say, prevents to be executed some ransomware. So if any of your employees or friends or colleagues in your company will download some ransomware or get some ransomware through email, and it will be deployed or installed on this server where we have sensitive data, it prevents this engine automatically against, let's call it, excessive data access, exfiltration, unauthorized encryption. So any try to manipulate with the data that seems to be ransomware will be detected and will be also monitored. So if you remember, I just show you the line with the log file. There will be an information. We discovered, let me maybe to push it in front. So it is implemented, or it is enabled on whole driver. So in my case, I just use the dummy ransomware. It is the PDF file that is actually exe file with some ransomware. So what I do, I don't know what I do here. I maybe wanted to write some some text. If I execute this PDF document, it executes actually the ransomware. Yeah, so this is ransomware file. So I just click on the PDF file, and it is something else than PDF document, and you have the information that some Java process was started, and this Java process is looking for some files, and those files will be encrypted by this encryption key. And the end of the story is that you have to pay for the decryption if you want to to get the clear form of this file. So, and let's say what's interesting for you is that we have by this engine we have a visibility into those processes. So you can find the information that actively it was alerted that some ransomware protection was discovered. So someone opened the PDF document, and it was not actually the PDF document. It invokes some java.exe, and it starts to encrypt some data. It can be in two, let's say, the options or two variants. The one is monitoring option, and the second one is the active protection. So it will, let's say, protect you to be executed this ransomware. Any question?
Sorry, just a comment. So. Okay, so short comment again. We do not say that we are a ransomware vendor, because we are not. We do not say that we have complete ransomware solution, because we don't. But what we saw that a lot of ransomware solutions are focusing only the endpoints and the communication channels only, and miss the server side. And I understand that most of the cases, the infection came through these vectors, but there are some other cases. Just an example, when a supplier came into the data center and plugged in the laptop to the console port to update the server, firmware, whatever they do. So in this case, they can infect the servers directly and can bypass the former channels and former control points. So in this case, our solution can be a really good complementary solution to the existing ransomware protection system, Plus, it is another advantage that it is the same engine for the encryptions or whatever, if you like it. So you can deploy the encryption itself as well.
Yeah, it was, let's say, a valid comment that I would look at this ransomware protection as a additional value of file level encryption. So if I have this engine already in place in, I don't know, Linux machine, Windows machine, why not to enable extra, let's say, feature that can eliminate potential ransomware, but keep it as an additional value. It is not like a full focus of this engine on to be a ransomware protection solution. So let me summarize it. So what we have seen, it was the console of CipherTrust Manager, key management solution, that is typically for management of the keys and management of the users. Users means that you can connect this key management solution to your LDAP, to your Active Directory, and from them you can create or use your groups like HR group, IT group, and based on those groups you can say what those people from your company can do with the encryption. Where we can, let's say, enable the encryption, I just made a demo of a few of the examples on file systems. We are able to do an encryption of the database application, and also we have some, let's say, capability with the tokenization or protection gateway. Protection gateway means if you have some data, for example, let's imagine we have a Facebook. Everybody knows how it works. So I just put some post into the Facebook, and the task is encrypt data in Facebook. So how I would do it? Yeah, so I have no privilege to open the application. I have no visibility into database. I have nothing like that. But there is a way how to do it, and it is called gateway, or think about the proxy. So if I'm connected to Facebook through the proxy, what it does? So it goes all the traffic through some other system, not directly through my, I don't know, Chrome browser and from my laptop into the server of Facebook. It will pass through some other gateway or proxy. And this proxy is somehow able to do parsing of the values. So if I have some, I don't know, fields like a name or post or title of the comment, it can be parsed by this gateway into field 1, field 2, field 3. And those 3 fields through the proxy can be encrypted on the fly and can be sent into the Facebook. What really happens if I pass the data in encrypted way into the Facebook? It will be to all of you encrypted. So it will be unreadable text, unreadable everything. Yeah. But if I want to see the data decrypted in the clear form, I will have to visit the same post through the same gateway, through the same proxy server. So it will, let's say, eliminate or maybe fix the issue that I have some software as a service application in the company, and I want to make an encryption to be up and running, but I have no keys to open the application or to navigate into the database or to get the access into it. So we call it data protection gateway, and it is implemented mostly for the applications that are developed as a Kubernetes, as a Docker containers, and so on. But in the high-level perspective, it works exactly as I described with the Facebook. So this is what we do. This is what, let's say, is capable to be done with CipherTrust Manager. And let me right now to have a look in something what we did not touch or haven't touched yet. And yeah, these maybe 3 slides are quite good to be presented today. Something what the tool itself is doing automatically. So I mentioned that most of those, let's say, vendors of the data storage or the backup solution, or let's say big scale of the data like Pure Storage or NetApp or VMware, has its own connector that is called KMIP. So key management interchange or interoperability protocol. So what it does, so actually we have, let's call it, for example, NetApp. We have a storage of the data, and we want to encrypt all storage by the key that will be managed by Thales CipherTrust Manager. So what we do, NetApp has a command line interface or graphical user interface in which you will just put the IP address of this server, and you will select the key that will protect the data in NetApp. Actually, it works in with two keys. One key will be created on NetApp. Just for the performance purposes, you want to have the encryption key as close as possible to the data. So we call it data encryption key. So data encryption key is inside of the NetApp. So what's the magic if I have key inside of the NetApp? It doesn't work like separate data and separate key. But once you connect through the KMIP client, the key management solution, it does one trick. It sends data encryption key into this server. The server will damage the key in the clear form and will send back the key in encrypted form. We call it, this key is called data encryption key, and this key inside is called K encryption key, like a DEC and KEC. So what will happen? We have all data encrypted by data encryption key, but inside of the NetApp, this data encryption key is existing only in encrypted form. It is impossible to use it without the connection to CipherTrust Manager. So actually what it brings and what we achieved, that if anybody will pick up the NetApp and take it away, it will be encrypted by the key inside of the key management or CipherTrust Manager, so it will be protected against these kind of risk or threats. For home, let's say, based application like, I don't know, some NGX applications, we have, let's say, the capability to be integrated through our the technology and libraries like Java, .NET, C# a tak dále. For the database, I mentioned that most of the big database vendors like Oracle and SQL, they have transparent database encryption integration or capability to be integrated with any key management solution like CipherTrust Manager. And maybe one comment. I ran the demo and I show you the demo CipherTrust transparent encryption with stupid text file that we open by Notepad or Notepad++. But this agent, CipherTrust transparent encryption, can be used also for different kind of the data. Database itself, like Oracle, SQL, and other databases, are represented also as a file systems inside of the file system. So if I have Microsoft database, what actually it is few files that are stored somewhere on the Windows server. So I can apply the same policy as you saw in my demo for the text file. It can be implemented, and this policy can be applied for the database file. So I can say that only SQL Server Engine will be able to decrypt and encrypt the database files. All other people and all other systems or processes will see the files in encrypted form. So it is other approach, not only transparent database encryption, it can be used file level encryption for the database. And I wanted to, let's say, to show you that the CipherTrust Manager can be also used for cloud key management. What does it mean? If we have data in cloud, and I discussed it during the break with one of you, we typically have an option that is offered by those Microsoft and AWS and Google and IBM. They have their own encryption solution. So you can say, I would like to have, I don't know, Microsoft server up and running inside of the cloud. So you just click the button, how big, I don't know, memory should be, how much CPU, and after a few minutes you have IP address and you have a server. And if you want to protect all these server data inside by the key or by the encryption, Microsoft will allow you to involve, they call it key vault. So inside of the key vault, you will just generate some symmetric key, and you say, okay, this symmetric key will be applied for the encryption of the whole server. Okay, the thing is done. So what's wrong on it? First of all, you are under the risk that none of you, let's say, will be the privileged and the only one user that will have access to the key. So who knows who from Microsoft or other, I don't know, administrators that are responsible for the cloud have the access to the key. So you want to eliminate. It's, let's say, the basic requirements that is coming to my mind. The second one related to law, to cybersecurity law. So if you want to discuss with internal or external auditor, how do you prevent the data inside of the cloud? And you say, okay, I have key vault. Inside of key vault, I created the key. And the second question will be, who of you has the access to the key? And you will say, oh, only me and a colleague of mine. And who from other side, from the cloud? Yeah, we have signed some contract that they eliminate the access to other people to get it. Come on. There are plenty of cases that in terms of, I don't know, the war in the world, in terms of any conflict, political conflict, if there will be any suspicions that Hungarian government is doing something wrong against the United States, let's guess this, what will happen? United States President will pick up the phone and will ask Microsoft, hey, provide me all data that Hungarian, for example, government or some big company is processing in cloud, and I will just have a look whether there is anything what I can use against them. And because of the law in the United States works that way, they have to provide them the data, you will not protect your data anymore. So, and we have a solution for such situation. And it is called, or it is under these two abbreviations. First of all, it's called bring your own key. So it means that inside of CipherTrust Manager, you will generate the key, and you will just upload the key inside of the cloud provider. It's better because it eliminates the situation that, for example, you will have to dump the data from Azure, and you will have to, for example, put it into Amazon because of the price, because of whatever. So you will have some disputation with them, but you will still have the ownership of the key, and it is called bring your own key. So you will have the ownership of the key. The second, let's say, the benefit of it is that you say what will be, let's say, the value of the key. So what kind of entropy is of the key. So how strong is the key. So you will be unique one who has the ownership of the key. But it doesn't eliminate the example that I mentioned with United States President. It is the approach that is called hold your own key. What it brings, inside of the CipherTrust Manager will be a key that will protect the data in cloud. So if we lose the connection between CipherTrust Manager and data in cloud, it will be still in encrypted form. And it works that way, that only data that will be protected by this key can be decrypted by this key. So it means that if I, for example, steal the data from cloud provider, it will be still encrypted, and there will be no option to reconstruct the data in the clear form without having an access to the key management. And it works with the same principle as I try to explain with the DEC and KEC. So it means inside of the cloud will be data encryption key, and it will be wrapped by the key inside of the key management. So it does just one single operation. So it decrypts the data encryption key, and then all the data, it can be petabytes of the data in cloud, and it really proceeds effectively and with the performance. Questions? Is it boring or? Yes.
Popular solution to put the data on one place, or one data center, and the trust manager on another one. Right? place or run the data center. How sensitive for the latency between the two data centers? So can I put USA and Europe, or it's sensitive for that?
Yeah. So in terms of the, well, let's say, law, you can say in which data center of the cloud will be the data resists. So it is the first because of GDPR and because of other regulations. All of those cloud providers should allow you to have data only within the borders of European Union. And in terms of the performance, most of the, let's say, the technologies are working on the principle of multiple keys. So it means that on site of the cloud provider or on site of the, for example, file server, there will still exist the data encryption key. So it works pretty effectively inside of the key, inside of the server is the key. So it runs with some reduction. We have some measurements and some calculations. So it's like a 15% impact of the performance. And the same is with the cloud. So inside of the cloud will be still data encryption key. So it works inside of, for example, Frankfurt data center or Warsaw data center. So I do not need to ask from Budapest to Warsaw or to Frankfurt for the key. So it will be just one single operation. Just unwrap the key that resides inside of, for example, Frankfurt data center. Once it is unwrapped, this operation is legitimate and it's verified that everything is okay, then this decryption is running inside of the Frankfurt data center itself, and then that's end of the story. And let's say overall performance impact is like 10-15%. Sometimes it was the funny story that I exchanged with, let's say, our colleague, that we look into the data, and there was like, the size file was like 1 kilobyte file, 1 megabyte file, 1 gigabyte file, and we look at the performance, and it was varies. And in some cases, we saw that the performance was not like 89%, 85, something like that. It was 102. So we look at, if I encrypt the data, the performance is better. So at the beginning, we thought that there is something wrong. Yeah, so maybe we said something wrong also to our customers, that we are just reducing the performance 15%. The benefit, or why it happens, is because it is an agent-based solution. So it runs a lot of operations inside of the memory. So if it's, let's say, some size of the file, it was more effective to run, for example, opening Word document and writing some data through the agent than to opening without the agent. That's, let's say, the trick. But overall, I would say 15% is something what you can count with. Okay, so any questions? Anything what we want to touch? Any suggestion? Because I do not want.
Maybe I would like to emphasize this VMware environment, because I know that. Sorry. So maybe I would like to remind you this VMware environment encryption, because it's very popular in Hungary. I mean, VMware environment, that there is a possibility that if you would like to encrypt VMware environment or the instance itself, it is possible. Okay, sometimes it needs some kind of additional license from the VMware side, so vEncrypt or vSAN, whatever. But there is a possibility to take over the key management, and CipherTrust manager will manage the key itself. You are storing and you are using, I mean the VMware side, the keys in the vTemp. Sorry. Okay, it is. So it's better that he is speaking about it.
So let's say one of the most demanded encryption is coming from how we are able to encrypt the VMware. We have all of those virtual machines like Windows servers, Linux machine inside of some virtualization platform, and quite popular is VMware. So we have three options how we can achieve the protection by encryption. First of all, it's called, let's say, VM encryption or virtual machine encryption. So we have a capability through the KMIP to be integrated, let's say, this vCenter with our key management server, and then once you create the virtual machine, just through the console of virtual machine, you can say the key inside of the key management solution will be responsible for protection of the virtual machine. It was introduced, I think, a few years ago, also the capability to encrypt the data on vSAN, so on the let's say, storage level. So everything what will be inside of the VMware will be encrypted on vSAN level. So this is from the screen from the VMware. And we have other, let's say, an option that we can also to use our file level encryption, transparent encryption. So it means that everything what is running inside of the virtualization, inside of, I don't know, Windows server, Linux server, can be on the file server level encrypted by our, let's say, the technology. So if you are curious in some, let's say, more details how exactly it works, you can see that it utilizes the same principle. So it means that there is also some data encryption key and key encryption key. So all virtualization is encrypted by its own generated data encryption key. But what we do, we damage the key by wrapping by key encryption key. So inside of our CipherTrust manager is key encryption key, and the encryption key has to be decrypted or unwrapped, and then everything works. So it's pretty easy, simple, and reliable solution. And the goal of this integration is the basic, to separate data and separate the key. So it means that nobody who will get access to your virtual machine will have access to the key and end of the story. So you prevent these risks. Yeah, it looks, by the way, like this. So it's, I don't know whether it will be visible or not, but you can see that it's quite old version of vSphere, but you can see that there is already article or the part key management system. You can just add additional key management system. It is based on the IP address, some certificates, and then you have a capability to select that the vSAN or VM or virtual machine will be encrypted by key management solution. Okie dokie. And yeah, I forget one thing. Who of you is involved in, let's say, the modern way of the development, not in a classic application structure, but in the containerization? So who of you is involved, or who? Okay, so I believe that most of the companies already started to use this approach. And then when I had a discussion and the same presentation for the customer, they told me, it's nice that we are able to, for example, protect data in database, protect data in file, but how about Kubernetes? Yeah, so, and our developers come with, let's say, quite useful solution that utilize, in terms of the Kubernetes, the technology container storage interface. So if we have some application running in the container, what it, let's say, does? So it typically processes some data, like customer information, and if you terminate the application, every data are, let's say, lost. Only one thing, let's say, will be stored for forever, and it is persistent data in the persistent storage. So if you, and the benefit of the containerization is that you can start and boot up the application, and after a few seconds you can terminate the application. So you have to keep the data that were operated inside of the Kubernetes somewhere else. And again, it's stored in the persistent storage. So let's imagine this is your, I don't know, some application in Kubernetes. The applications are collected in something what is called pod. And all data that will be stored inside for the visualization, we said, okay, it can be storage on your premises, or it can be in Amazon, in other, I don't know, Azure systems. If you go, let's say, from your application into the storage through this engine, CipherTrust Transparent Encryption Container Storage Interface, it will automatically encrypt and decrypt the data, as same as we saw on the previous demo. If I look into this data from any other engine, from any other pod that will not go through this CSI storage interface, it will display me the data in encrypted form. So what it brings, let's say it eliminates, that if I have a storage of sensitive information in some persistent storage on a file server, it will be encrypted, and only pods or applications in Kubernetes that will have this engine will be able to decrypt and encrypt the data on the fly, and that's nice. The benefit, and eliminates the risk that if anybody will have access to the storage, he will see the data in encrypted form. It's useless. It's impossible to breach the data. And maybe last, what I wanted to, maybe I will show you. Something like live demo. So I have my lab in which is running the CipherTrust Manager. So you see that the access to CipherTrust Manager is through the web console. And we believe that the most important part is to eliminate the root or administrator of this server will use just the credentials like username and password. So what we have as other approaches, it is multi-factor authentication. So we have a connection to any kind of identity providers through OIDC connection, or we can authenticate the administrator through certificate. So I have a certificate on my laptop, so I am automatically connected. So, and if you remember what I was talking about, we have, let's say, engine for data discovery and classification. So what it does, so we can let's say, create our own info types, what we are looking for, like Hungarian national identities, social security number, whatever. Yeah. So what can be sensitive for you, and at the end you will get like a scan result where we found in your databases, in your file servers, the sensitive data. So that's, let's say, all about cloud key management. As I mentioned, we have a capability to be connected to Amazon, to Azure, to, I don't know, Google, to Oracle, Salesforce, SAP, and we can be the owner of the keys. I forget to mention one really important, let's say, the note. The benefit of using key management solution for management of the keys that encrypts the data in cloud is also the multi-cloud, let's say, approach. So you can imagine, you can have few of the servers and application running in Azure, some of others in Amazon, and some of others in GCP. And they can use the same key that will be managed inside of the key management. So you can eliminate the issue that you will put all your trust just to one cloud vendor. Yeah? So you can distinguish and to operate some applications here. And also it can be like a multi-security solution. Like you can operate the CipherTrust Manager in, for example, Google, and you can have your own the data in Amazon. Yeah? So it means that, okay, my security is running in other cloud vendor than my data. Yeah, that's, let's say, the approach that can also work. So it was, let's say, the second option that we have. Okay, we are a capability to discover, we have a capability to manage the keys and encryption in the cloud. Transparent encryption, this is something what we, let's say, run the demo based on the policy, and you can see it is the same policy that I have shown you. Database protection, it is something what I, let's say, did not talk too much about, but it reminds me to repeat one important information. If we encrypt the data on, let's say, the basic level, like transparent database encryption, it encrypts the data in the database as a complex. So it means that if I am a database administrator, I will see the data in encrypted form, in the clear form. If I want to eliminate these, let's say, vulnerability or threats or risk, I have to implement something else. In Microsoft, it is called always encrypted solution. So it means that it breaks and removes the original value of the columns in the database, in the table, and it creates the encrypted values. And if I am connected as a user into this database, it has to run the encryption and decryption on application layer, so through some agent. And we have the same, let's say, solution that we called the DB protection, that we are able to connect to your database, encrypt your data, remove the original value of the data, and then we are able to navigate through the agent who is able to decrypt the data. That's, let's say, the amazing that we will eliminate that the database administrator will have access to the clear form of the data. And I mentioned that we have a connection through the KMIP, and we are able to enable encryption on application level. And the last one, before you completely die by the, let's say, informations, we have something what is called secret management. The secret management, what is it? What is secret management? Who knows? What is it? Secret management is for the privileged root and administrators. So if I am having a server and I am the only one who has the administrative privileges, I am able to install, deploy the application, remove data, destroy the server. But if a colleague of mine is responsible for example, the database that is inside of the server, do I have to give him my privileges like administrative privileges? No, I do not want to give him all privileges. So what I would like to give him, for example, just few minutes administrative privileges, and after 30 minutes, this account, this username and password will be removed. And it is called secret management. And the secret management, let's say, allows me to achieve, I don't know, secrets like credentials, rotation, let's say, short-live the credentials to be at disposal for those administrators. So this is also included in this, let's say, solution. It works with the credentials for the database, for the file server, but it's mostly being utilized nowadays for the development of the application in Kubernetes. So it means you want to allow to those, let's say, the system, not only to users, but also the applications that are running in the Kubernetes, to consume some administrative privileges just for some short period of time, and then repeatedly rotate these secrets. So that's, let's say, about the elimination that someone get into your system because the credentials was stolen. And it reminds me again that if you remember what I started with from the hackathon that was used, so if you eliminate the stealing of your credentials, it is number one, to utilize or to use multi-factor authentication, eliminate the credentials stealing, and the second one, to eliminate the clear form of the data. So access management and encryption is your friends. Okie dokie, so I think it's all what we wanted to show.
Please stop him because he can speak for days. So.
Okay, I do not want to, let's say, bother you longer time. I hope that I already mentioned that it is like a physical and virtual appliance. It can be a mixture. And one more thing that I do not want to forget to mention, it's back to this slide. It is this. nobody was asking me why I did not say too much about this box. What do you think it is this box about?
There is a letters about that.
What?
All the letters is there.
Okay, so what is this? It is hardware security module. So, and why, when I presented encryption of everything, it's clear there is a management of the keys. So why we have HSM connected into the
Key story there.
No. Yes and no. Let's be fair. Let's be fair. So, if we have all keys, protective keys or protection keys or encryption keys inside of the CipherTrust manager, for you it can be quite risky that all your data in database, in file servers is encrypted by one technology. So we have a solution how to solve it. Yeah, so high availability, so you will have those CipherTrust manager in a cluster. You will have a lot of backups. Every day you will run a backup, so in case of anything will happen, Gabor will deliver you a new appliance and you will from backup restore what you have. Okay, so that's good. But from risk that someone will take this platform and, for example, run it at home, would it be working or not? There is no protection about that. So if you keep this, let's say, the server, and I will take it at home, it will be working. And if I want to eliminate this situation, I can connect the CipherTrust manager as a key management solution with hardware security module, and it brings, let's say, one value. Okay, if anybody will pick it, it will not be connected. By this connection, what will happen? Actually, technically, what will happen? Everything will be removed and will be encrypted by the key that is stored inside of the HSM. So there is generated just one single key and everything will be protected by the key. So if I will, let's say, take this solution at home and I will boot up the solution, it will ask me, hey, where is the connection to the key, to the HSM? And I will have no HSM, so that's it. And the second benefit is that it brings, it's called root of trust, so it brings, let's say, another value from the security point of view. And it also gives me the better level of the security. So all the keys will be protected by, let's call it shelter, by FIPS 140-3, level 3. It has, let's say, certificates for common criteria, ADAS, even for NATO. So if your company will require that the protection of the data must be in compliance with those regulations, you can achieve it only with, let's say, this integration, that you will run the key management solution and it will be integrated with HSM. I think it is more than enough. So thank you for your attention, that you are still alive. Any questions? I would be really happy if you have any question. Ask anything.
They have already slept.
We just counted the number of the appliances. As it says, immediate influence on our total IT infrastructure, it means that we have to buy 4 immediately.
So for the high availability, the best is, let's say, to have 2 pieces of this and to HSM. But we can, let's say, have a look on it together. Depends on how reliable must be, let's say, the environment. It can be like, for example, just 2 appliances of this and 1 appliance of HSM. It would be enough for some, let's say, particular cases, because we have. It's not necessary to be like the permanent heartbeat between HSM and CipherTrust manager. It let's say, asks for the HSM for some situations. So if you, for example, let fall down the HSM, you will survive for a couple of hours. And then you can, let's say, reboot, you can, you know what to ask for another appliance or whatever. Yeah. So, but agree, the typical topology and architecture is 2 pieces for high availability of key management and for reliability to have high availability of the HSM.
Just one comment, because regarding the HSM, In the past, one HSM could be used only for one use cases, but it's not true right now. As you can see, the current network HSM, especially our HSM, can be used so many different use cases. So, for example, you can use it to storing the master key of your certification authority for the PKI infrastructure. You can store TLS keys, you can store SSL, whatever. And the good thing that one physical device can be used so many different use cases because allows to partitioning the physical device up to 100 partitions. The top level is 100 partition. That means that you can use one device for 100 use cases. It's not bad.
Yeah, but it means that it must be a high reliability and high availability.
But for us, there was an opposite.
And I will tell you something else. Like we acting right now as a sellers, yeah. So we can have one appliance in which will be let's say plugged in the hardware security module. So it will be just one single box that will act as a two, let's say, solutions. So it will be CipherTrust Manager, and inside will be small card that will act as a hardware security module. And we call it, let's say, key. Its technical name like K570, and it is a solution that don't need extra device. So there will be just two pieces in the bill of material in the offer for the high availability.
Is it possible to initiating the two devices to provide same keys as a backup?
Yes, yeah. So it means that if you have CipherTrust Manager interconnected because of the cluster, it will have the same key in both key management solution. What it does technically, I have one CipherTrust Manager, it's done, I will create the key number one. And I will deploy another key management and I will connect it through the clustering. It will automatically, it starts removing everything from the second key management, and it replicates everything from the first node. There is only IP address and some few things that keeps separately, but all the rest, like a policy, users, keys, everything will be the same. So once I create the key number 2, within milliseconds, it will be key number 2 in the second appliance.
But the keys which stored in the HSM is very important.
So the key in the HSM can vary as well. So it can be like this. So CipherTrust number 1 can be connected to the HSM, and the same key from the HSM can be used by the CipherTrust 2. So or
physically destroyed the HSM.
So if I destroy the HSM.
Yeah. So can I initiate two of them on two places at the start with the same keys inside?
Yes.
You can build up high availability system from the HSM itself, plus you can purchase another device, which we called backup HSM,
yes,
which is the smallest one, and you can back up all the necessary information from the active HSM to the backup HSM. So if you would like to protect it anyhow, we can build it up as you wish.
But good questions, yeah. So definitely it can be, if we are talking about the one single appliance in which is integrated HSM, if anything will be destroyed, just for the situation that, let's say, can happen, the whole machine will be destroyed. You have every week, every day, you have a backup from this, let's say, appliance. So Gabor will deliver you a new appliance within, I don't know, two days, or within 48 hours you will get another appliance. At that time will be acting just one single node. It will be like risky, but still you will be surviving. There will be delivered, let's say, the second node, and you will from the backup renew, and that's it. Or you can just connect to another node and it will automatically synchronize the keys. So it's okay, it's still risky.
It's a bit simple, it's just like a server, but for HSM it's a little bit more complicated.
The funny thing that you can combine the partitionings and the physical. I do not want to too technical, but you can pairing the partitioning with physical device and vice versa. So anyhow, you can build up some kind of high availability system. So it can be really.
And last selling point, you do not need hardware box. We are able to let you use our, let's say, services. So it will be a connection somewhere into the cloud where we are running HSM, and it can be also a combination. So we will have, for example, one HSM as a reliable and a hardware box, and the same key can be connected to the cloud. And if anything will happen to this, you will just point to the cloud for I don't know.
Still for any compliance.
Yes, the cloud-based HSM solution of us has the same level of certification which the physical device itself.
So it can be a, let's say, solution for this scenario. But really important selling point is that we are able to sell you 4-piece and 4-piece as well. Yeah, so
plus a backup, of course.
at least 2 backups. No. So the main story was we are capable and help you with the protection of the data by encryption or tokenization. And this is, let's say, my goal for today was to letting you know if anything like that will be on your plate, on the task for your company. Please contact Gabor, me, the guys from the partner. We will, let's say, be happy to run demo, POC. I did not mention that it is freely available for all of you. If you search for CipherTrust Manager Community Edition, 90 days you have a full license CipherTrust Manager for all connections with full agents. After 90 days, contact Gabor or me. We can help you to extend, or you have to boot up another machine and there will be next 90 days. So it's I think really easy if you want to get familiar with it without what to ask someone else for the help. You are freely available to or capable to do it.
Sorry for questions, but in the past I had an incident where the HSM is destroyed.
Yeah, that's
yes. As I said,
IT,
in the past, the HSM was totally different. So I sold my first HSM more than 20 years ago. So that time, network HSM one side extremely expensive and wasn't partitioning. So it was really different solution. Right now, we have 3 type of form factor of the HSM. As Petr said, we have PCI card, so practically you can dedicate one particular HSM to a physical server itself. We have USB form and we have network form. So it depends on your requirements. You can choose whatever you want.
By the way, we are really proud on our product management team because we are the first one on the market with the FIPS 140-3 level 3 certification for HSM. And it took us like 2 years. And all other vendors are behind us. Yeah, so it's good to know.
Thanks. Köszönjük szépen akkor, hogy eljöttetek. Bármi kérdés van, szívesen most is, később is. Akinek még nem adtam névjegyet, nagyon szívesen adok.